The news spread like wildfire across every major financial screen and media outlet that morning. A name that had once symbolized unstoppable power, limitless wealth, innovation, global charity, and a picture-perfect life now flashed in cold red letters: Jonathan Hale, bankrupt. Stocks had crashed, partnerships dissolved, investors turned their backs, and legal battles had swallowed the empire he'd spent 16 years building. Within hours, a man who once owned towers scraped clean into the sky, private jets, and a global brand became a headline of tragedy, mockery, and curiosity. But what the world did not see that morning was Jonathan standing inside the top floor of his nearly empty corporate building, staring numbly at the city skyline, the same skyline he once believed he ruled. The polished black marble office floor that used to echo the sounds of confident footsteps now echoed only isolation. The spacious office that once hosted high-level executives, journalists, and celebrities was now silent, lifeless, stripped, and cold. His hands trembled as he held the last letter from the bank, the final rejection. His throat tightened, not for the wealth he lost, not for the humiliation, but because he didn't know how he would now feed the only person who mattered to him, his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. He was not just a billionaire once respected across continents, he was also a single dad, widowed too early, clinging to the promise he made to his wife on her hospital bed that he would give their daughter a life filled with love, dignity, and dreams. But now every dream felt shattered. Viewers, before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, humanity, and miracles that appear when everything seems lost, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Whispers of Kindness. Let the world know that compassion still matters and stories like this still deserve to be heard. Jonathan paced slowly, barely breathing, feeling a darkness so heavy it seemed to crush the air around him. All the employees had already packed and left. His furniture was removed, his nameplate was gone. The only reason he stepped into that office was to gather the final box of personal belongings he had not taken yet, perhaps out of denial, perhaps out of pain. He was ashamed to face the world and even more ashamed that he had no plan, no strength, and no answers. He finally bent down to close the brown cardboard box that held nothing but a framed photo of his late wife, Lily's first drawing made in kindergarten, and the glass trophy he won in his first year as an entrepreneur when he was poor but fearless. His eyes burned and blurred with tears he had held back for too long. He placed his palm over the photo frame and whispered, "I'm sorry, I tried." But life was not done testing him. That same evening, he took his daughter by the hand and left the penthouse that was now owned by creditors. Lily didn't cry, though she saw the movers take every gold frame, every designer sofa, every book, and even her mother's favorite antique vase. She only looked up and said, "Daddy, we still have each other, right?" Mommy said that counts more than anything. Her fragile innocence split Jonathan's heart in two. They moved into a tiny rented apartment near an industrial area where he could no longer hide from the bitter reality. Gone were the days of private drivers and chefs, he now walked miles to purchase discounted groceries. Lily ate simple meals, often pretending she liked everything even when her little eyes glanced at aisles filled with what she once used to enjoy. Jonathan tried looking for work, but pride and age became silent chains. Employers no longer saw him as a visionary, they saw him as a risk, a failure. Nights were the worst. When Lily slept peacefully with her tiny arms wrapped around a worn-out teddy bear, Jonathan sat alone, battling self-hatred, guilt, and the haunting voice of, "I failed." He pawned his expensive watch, then his branded suit, then his car. Every sacrifice made him feel smaller, but every meal Lily ate made him feel stronger. A father's love was his only surviving treasure. One cold rainy night, after weeks of searching for employment, he finally got a job offer, as a janitor. Not in another company, but in the very corporate building he once owned. The irony tasted like poison, but survival leaves no room for ego. He accepted. The next morning, wearing a plain uniform instead of an Italian suit, he entered the lobby, head down, avoiding eye contact from employees who once greeted him with admiration. Some recognized him, stared, whispered, laughed quietly, and recorded him. Nothing hurt more than people turning a man's downfall into entertainment. But among hundreds of footsteps, judging glances, and silent cruelty, there was one young janitor, a simple 21-year-old boy named Aiden, who didn't watch him with mockery but with respect he couldn't explain. Aiden often saw Jonathan alone during break hours, eating in silence, staring at his hands, or holding an old keychain his daughter gave him that said, "My daddy is my hero." Aiden couldn't ignore the heaviness in Jonathan's eyes, so he intentionally asked him to join him for breaks. Jonathan rarely spoke, but Aiden always left him with encouraging words. "Sir, sometimes life doesn't bury you. It plants you." While everyone else treated Jonathan like a living failure, Aiden treated him like a man still holding value. One evening, Jonathan was asked to help clear the old CEO archive room, ironically, his own former records. He dusted the old boxes, locked filing drawers, and wiped forgotten shelves. Everything that once represented his power now represented painful memories. After hours of cleaning, Jonathan told Aiden he was going home early because he had to pick Lily. Later that night, while closing duty, Aiden noticed a small folder left behind under Jonathan's cleaning cart. The label looked old, almost faded, written in Jonathan's handwriting. It read, "Confidential, Secondary Patent Draft." Curious, Aiden opened it carefully and his eyes widened. Inside was a fully documented, signed, unprocessed patent proposal, a breakthrough renewable energy concept that Jonathan had once designed but forgot to submit due to his wife's illness. It wasn't just any project. It contained formula drafts, prototype concepts, and recorded test results that could change the future energy market. It was enough to rebuild everything. Aiden didn't waste a second. He ran through the building, searched the nearby streets in the rain, and finally found Jonathan walking slowly, clutching groceries in one hand and Lily's pink school bag in the other. Panting, soaked, breathless, Aiden shouted, "Sir, you forgot this one paper." Jonathan turned, confused, then froze when he saw the folder. His hands shook, his knees nearly gave out, and for the first time in months, hope pierced through his darkness. He rushed home, spent the entire night analyzing, correcting, and updating every detail with a renewed fire. The next day, he borrowed money to legally file and register the patent. Months later, the concept gained attention from global investors, universities, scientific communities, and environmental organizations. Interviews poured in, funding multiplied, and Jonathan was offered partnership deals larger than his initial fortune. Instead of building a luxury empire again, he built a purpose-driven foundation, focusing on innovation, employment, and community growth. And his first new employee, and partner in training, was the young janitor who believed in him when the world didn't. Jonathan purchased a modest home, not a mansion, where Lily grew up surrounded with love, stability, and humility. On her bedroom wall hung a framed piece of paper, not a dollar note, not a diploma, but the patent document that rescued their future. Under it was another frame, one that Jonathan placed with his own hands, containing the janitor uniform and name badge he once wore, a reminder that no man falls too deep to rise again. And right beside it was a handwritten note from Aiden that said, "One paper can change fate. One act of kindness can save a life." As Jonathan looked around his new life, tears softly filled his eyes. Not because he was wealthy again, but because he was rich in what mattered: purpose, gratitude, fatherhood, friendship, and humanity. Before we end, if this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Someone somewhere might need this story today to believe in themselves again. Special request: please comment the word hope if you believe no downfall is final and kindness still wins.